In this clip, we're talking about the idea of white privilege as an invisible knapsack. This is a really helpful idea which comes from Peggy McIntosh. She's written a book called Revisioning Family Therapy Through a Cultural Lens. She's talking about white privilege as being like an invisible knapsack on your back as a white person, of all the assumptions and all the privileges which you can trust about your world. I can turn on the television and most of the people on the television, almost all, will be the same colour as me. That when I cut my finger, I can go to the chemist and buy a plaster and know that that's going to be more or less the same colour as me. That I can send my son off in the world and feel pretty much assured that he's not going to get stopped and searched by the police. These are the kind of assumptions which come with white privilege. The invitation is to be very sensitive and alert to the ways in which your position within society enables you to have a privileged position and, in contrast, positions others in relation to you. There's another paper which I really like to use alongside the white privilege paper, which is by Ken Hardy, and it's called something like How to Be a Gem Therapist, and it's GEMM, being a good ethnic minority mainstream therapist. One of the points he makes in the article is that you have to work harder as an ethnic minority to get into the same sort of position as somebody with white privilege. I remember one student, social worker I talked to, was really angry when she read this paper because it made her very alert to all the ways in which she'd had to put on a white acceptable face in order to be heard, in order to get promotion, in order to get accepted on courses. So I think both these papers make black and white social workers very alert to inequality and the way it influences them as professionals and the way it's going to influence the children and families that they're working with. To a white social worker, these papers are saying you have to be the one who puts race on the agenda. It's up to you to ensure that you attend to racism and race and the way that these might impact on your families and children that you're seeing. You need to be asking active questions about their experiences of racism in Britain today. You need to let them know that you know that we live in an unequal world. But there are also lots of subtle nuances about what it might mean for a family that you as a white social worker are coming into their space. It might also feed into their experiences of being judged or of being held accountable. So talking about it is a really important thing to get your relationship going in a more equal way. Similarly, for a black therapist or a black social worker, meeting a white family, they might be encountering a lot of racist views, and kind of acknowledging perhaps what it's like for the family to have a black professional working with them can be really helpful. I had a Muslim student who got very good at talking about wearing a hijab and what that meant to the family. And she would encounter things like, we don't feel we can talk about sex, we don't feel we can talk about this, you're going to be praying all the time, those kind of stereotypes. And she found a really useful way of talking to it by saying, yes, I'm a Muslim woman, I have certain beliefs that fit with my culture and my beliefs, but I'm also a therapist and a social worker and here to talk with you about whatever you want to bring up. So as a social worker, you are an agent of the state, and that means that people are going to have certain assumptions about you before you even get through the door. Being sensitive to inequalities being very aware of your own positioning and how that might be seen by the people you're working with enables you to attend to issues of social injustice. And one of the big social injustices links to race.